All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day out there. We got a lot of stuff to get to today. So in just a second, the DOJ and the FBI are absolutely collapsing over the Epstein files. They know they screwed up. They know they broke the law. They know they're facing potential impeachment or contempt. This is a huge deal. Shout out to Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, who are on top of this like nobody's business. We're going to talk about that. We also have Barry Weiss officially censoring and banning for the regime over at CBS. She is targeting 60 Minutes and not allowing them to do their job and do actual journalism on CCOT, the concentration camp in El Salvador. We'll talk about that. We also have another act of war. The Trump regime continues to seize Venezuelan oil completely illegally and demand regime change. We have Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro, and that gets vile and dirty super quickly. We'll get to Alex Jones now. Apparently he's in the business of debunking conspiracy theories. Did you ever think you'd see the day where Alex Jones was debunking conspiracy theories? He's going after Candace Owens. That's incredible. Erica Kirk hits a new low. She also has the worst and most hilarious Freudian slip I've ever seen in my life. We have Dave Chappelle going after Bill Maher. And of course, the MAGA Civil War is now totally and completely consuming the entire TPUSA event that just happened. So you don't want to miss any of this stuff, guys. You know the drill, man. Everybody, please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you absolutely nothing at all. You can also support the show on Patreon. That's a big deal. Means the world. Remember, this is real independent media. I've never talked to a billionaire, never talked to a PAC, never talked to a government or anything like that. Never talked to an advertiser or did an ad read. You guys fund this show from the ground up. It's grassroots media. It's independent media. We really appreciate your support. So thank you again. Also, you can support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below. And do not forget to go sub to Corin's World on YouTube. We do live Kyle and Corin episodes every Monday night, so you don't want to miss that either. All right, y'all. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So I did a special segment for you guys on Saturday, breaking down what we knew about the batch of the Epstein files that were released. Very importantly, I should point out that only 1% of the Epstein files have been released thus far, and they've been heavily redacted. Now, having said that, they're also completely and utterly incompetent, so they accidentally left a bunch of stuff in that they didn't mean to leave in. Pictures of Trump, for example, that were in Epstein's drawer. So there's a lot of stuff there. Go watch that video if you haven't watched it yet. It gives you all the details, all the stuff you'd want to know about the release of the Epstein files. But since then, boy, oh boy, do we have some updates. So take a look at this from Midas Touch. According to the AP, at least 16 files have disappeared from the DOJ website for documents related to Jeffrey Epstein with zero explanation or notice to the public. So they posted all these things. They go, oh shit, we meant to redact that because it looked bad for our boss, Trump. And so then even after everybody saw it, they go and they pull it back down. This stuff is so brazen. It's so comically inept. It's like the fucking Three Stooges are running the FBI and the DOJ. Then we get this. The Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, he goes on Meet the Press. And man, he just has an historic implosion. Let's take a look.
Dive right in. The Epstein Files Transparency Act called for all files with limited exceptions to be released within 30 days. On Friday, the Justice Department released just a fraction of the overall Epstein files. Why didn't the Justice Department meet that Friday deadline?
Good morning. So it's very simple and very clear. The statute also requires us to protect victims. And so the reason why we are still reviewing documents and still continuing our process is simply that, to protect victims. So the same individuals that are out there complaining about the lack of documents that were produced on Friday are the same individuals who apparently don't want us to protect victims. So we're going through a very methodical process with hundreds of lawyers looking at every single document and making sure that victims' names and any of the information from victims is protected and redacted, which is exactly what the Transparency Act expects. That's exactly what Attorney General Bondi expects. It's exactly what President Trump expects. So that's what we're doing.
You know that's bullshit. We all know that's bullshit because they had posted pictures that included Trump, and then they pulled that down. What the hell does that have to do with protecting victims? That has absolutely nothing to do with protecting victims. This is what's known as a lie. He's lying.
You're talking about protecting the victims. The law directed the Justice Department to, quote, release internal DOJ communications, including emails, memos, meeting notes concerning decisions to charge, not charge, investigate, or decline to investigate Epstein or his associates. That's the crux of what many of the victims or the survivors say they want to see. Why wasn't that information prioritized in the first release, Mr. Blanche?
Well, first of all, it was. And there are numerous documents released on Friday that address what you just quoted from the statute, that address internal communications within the Department of Justice and internal communications between law enforcement and the Department of Justice. But it's for the same reason. Because many of those internal communications talk about victims. Many of those internal back and forth between prosecutors and law enforcement talk about victims and their stories. And that has to be redacted. And by the way, everybody expects us to redact that. So the same complaints that we're hearing yesterday and even this morning from Democrats and from others screaming loudly from a hill about lack of production on Friday, imagine if we had released tons of information around victims. That would be the true crime. That would be the true wrong. And if anybody out there, I heard Congressman Raskin, the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee releasing statements accusing Attorney General Bondi, Director Patel, and myself of not doing our jobs. If they have an issue with me protecting victims, they know how to get a hold of me. But we're not going to stop doing it.
So again, this is just a lie. And it's not just Democrats who are pissed off about this. Thomas Massey is saying very clearly, not only are you guys not following the letter of the law, you're not following the spirit of the law either. And when you release just 1% of the files, when you're supposed to release all of the files, that is not like, oh, we got close, but we came up just short. That's like you're engaged in a massive cover-up. And what puts the cherry on top of the cover-up is, like I said, you released 16 things that you, oops, tee, my bad. I was trying to not show our Fredophile war criminal president, so now I'm going to pull that back down. That's got nothing to do with victims. So as Midas Touch says, they consider Epstein's associates victims. That's what he's getting at here, because they're trying to protect Epstein's associates, and they already failed to protect the real victims in the initial release. That's exactly right. There's a woman who they didn't actually redact her name when she wanted her name to be redacted, and they did redact the name of her abuser. This is ridiculous. It really shows you who this government works for. There actually is a billionaire Fredophile cabal that is running the country, and they are working overtime in our government to protect the billionaires in this cabal, the criminals in this cabal. All right, more. Here we go. Now we get a question about Ghislaine Maxwell.
I do want to ask you about Ghislaine Maxwell, who was, of course, convicted in 2021 for her role in helping Jeffrey Epstein traffic his victims. In July, you interviewed her in Florida, where she was serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison. Just a week later, Maxwell was moved to a more permissive prison camp in Texas. Why was she moved just days after you interviewed her, Mr. Blanche?
So that's a Bureau of Prison Security issue that I will not talk about.
Did you have anything to do with it? Did you have anything to do with it?
Let me finish. First of all, I am...
He might as well tattoo guilty directly on his forehead. Holy cow, man.
Responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So every decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue. At the time that I met Ms. Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity towards her. And the institution she was in, she was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail and making sure they stay in jail, but also for their safety. And so she was moved. She is in federal prison. She was in federal prison before. She's in federal prison now. She's doing 20 years because she was convicted. And the fact that she was moved, she might be moved to another institution tomorrow if security requires it. And that's true of any federal inmate across this country.
There's another lie. She was in like a normal prison, and she was basically moved to like a vacation spot, resort type prison, where they can do hot yoga and watch movies and play video games. And she apparently had somebody waiting on her hand and foot 24/7, and she was able to leave and come back. It was like being in a resort on a vacation 24/7. And so he doesn't know how to answer to this. Why? Very simply because he was ordered to do this. You think he made this decision on his own? You think he decided? Now that's what the Trump regime wants you to believe, is like, oh, this guy Todd Blanche went rogue. My ass cheeks, he went rogue. No, he didn't. He got orders from Trump, and Trump definitely told him, take care of her. And the reason he said that is because, oh, she has the ability to try to help me clear my name. And she did. She came out there and she said, oh, Trump never did anything wrong. He was a perfect gentleman. I never saw him do any of that bad stuff. And then what happened? Her payment for that was, okay, I'm going to send you from an actual prison into like, one where you can do hot yoga and play Parcheesi all day and have a fucking puppy. And I'm not kidding. She actually has a puppy. And the other inmates there are like, none of us are allowed to have a puppy. So she's at the softest prison in the world, and she's getting special treatment on top of that. That's not something, they had to change the actual rules to transfer her to that kind of a prison. This is part of Trump's cover-up. And by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell has already been paid back in spades for her attempt to clear Trump's name, but it's still possible that she's even going to go as far as getting a pardon because Trump will potentially permit that. So it just insane stuff. And here's this guy looking like a deer in headlights trying to clean it up. All right, here we go. So now I believe he's asked a question specifically about how they pulled down the pictures of Trump after forgetting to redact it. Here we go.
Mr. Blanche, I want to follow up with you on what you just said. You were referencing the 15 files released Friday. They disappeared from DOJ's website yesterday, including this photo of what looks like a desk with a drawer open containing photos of Donald Trump.
Bro, it's literally like a dedicated drawer in Epstein's house, and it's a drawer full of fucking Trump pictures and what appears to be a massive stack of papers. What are those papers? I have no idea. Is it some sort of a lawsuit? Is it some sort of book that has details of all of the dirt that Epstein has on Trump? We know there's pictures. We know there's videos. That's a fact. So the question is, what is in this drawer in its totality? Because it looks like a drawer that's specifically dedicated to Donald Trump. And then, by the way, you look up and you see there's a picture of Epstein with the Pope. There's a picture of Epstein with Mohammed bin Salman. I mean, it is insane. This man was truly at the top of a global conspiracy.
Just to be very clear, to put a fine point on it, why were these files taken down? You're saying it was at the direction of a judge?
Well, you can see in that photo, there's photographs of women. And so we learned...
So why, if that's the case, why didn't you redact that and then put them back up? Redact the women's faces and then put them back up. You didn't do that because it had nothing to do with the women. Nothing at all. You were trying to protect Trump. He probably threw a fit when he realized some of the things that were released included pictures of him.
After releasing that photograph, that there were concerns about those women and the fact that we had put that photo up. So we pulled that photo down. It has nothing to do with President Trump. There are dozens of photos of President Trump already released to the public, seeing him with Mr. Epstein. He has said that in the 90s and early 2000s, he socialized with him. So the absurdity.
There's a big difference between that and the global Fredophile CEO of Elite Sex Crimes Incorporated has a dedicated drawer specifically to you.
Of us pulling down a photo, a single photo, because President Trump was in it, is laughable. And the fact that everybody's trying to act like that's the case is a reflection of their true motivation. But the reality is anybody, any victim, any victim's lawyers, any victim rights group can reach out to us and say, hey, Department of Justice, there's a document, there's a photo, there's something within the Epstein files that identifies me, and we will then, of course, pull that off and investigate it.
Are you saying that one or more of the women in one of the photos or several of the photos is a victim or a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, and that's why you took those files down? And will they?
What an unbelievable follow-up from Welker here. Oh my God, she's got him in a logic chokehold. She has him checkmated. She's like, oh, okay, so there are pictures of women with Trump there, and you just said we had to pull that down because that's a victim, so we have to, protect her identity. And then Welker's like, oh, so she is a victim then. So you're saying that, potentially Trump victimized her. Is that what you're saying? Now watch him try to moonwalk right out the room, son.
Maybe put back up?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You know that thing I just said? I'm not saying that thing I just said.
Of course, if we knew that, if we believed that photograph contained a survivor, we wouldn't have put it up in the first place without redacting the faces. But notwithstanding what we believe, we don't have perfect information. And so when we hear from victims' rights groups about this type of photograph, we pull it down and investigate. We're still investigating that photo. The photo will go back up, and the only question is whether there will be redactions on the photo. And of course, if there are survivors in any of the photos, we will redact them as Congress expects us to do, as President Trump expects us to do, and as the Attorney General and Director Patel have directed the department to do.
Man, they are completely collapsing. And then finally, look, I'll end with this one. Jason Bassler says the following: worst cover-up in U.S. history. Selective omissions, missed legal deadline, 550 pages fully blacked out, which, by the way, I should point out. Let me just pause here to point out. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie made such a stink about certain things missing and just making it crystal clear there's going to be consequences for this, that the FBI actually had to relent and release some of that stuff, right? I mean, it's such a Three Stooges-ass cover-up that they're just scrambling and desperately trying to, stop the ship from sinking at the moment. So 550 pages fully blacked out, government officials redacted, 3,500 out of 200,000 documents, that's what was released, 16 files pulled post-release, including 2 Trump pics, and the DOJ re-redacted Trump's pert nip fetish report. Excuse you? Excuse you? Now, this is the first time I'm hearing of this one. What in God's name? Several girls at any one time she confided in me about her casual friendship with Donald Trump. Definitely seemed to have a thing for her, and she told me how he kept going on about how he liked her pert nipples. Donald Trump liked flicking and sucking her nipples until they were raw. One evening when we were showering together, she showed me her nipples. They looked incredibly painful as they were red and swollen, and I remember wincing when I looked at them. I also know she had sexual relations with Trump at Jeffrey's New York mansion on regular occasions, which means there's video of that. That means there's video of that. As I once met Jen for coffee just before she was going to meet Trump and Epstein together at his mansion. I will shortly start forwarding you all the emails which I have managed to save. They include the following. So apparently, I didn't need to know this. I could have died a happy man without knowing this, but Trump has a fetish for flicking and sucking pert nipples until they're red and chafed. What the fuck? And so now, further verification that Trump indeed is caught red-handed and on literal videotape that Epstein was able to use for blackmail. And so now you wonder, yet again, I'll make this point one more time, you wonder why Trump is giving Israel literally anything and everything they want. Well, we know Epstein was Mossad, which means, Israeli intelligence has this blackmail material they could use on Trump. So he greenlights anything and everything they want to do. You wonder why he bombed Iran, for example. Right? That's just one example, but let them steal the Golan Heights and annex it. This stuff is insane. Move the embassy to Jerusalem. All this stuff is insane. But now we know there's a personal reason why Trump allows it. The other thing is Trump has already sold out Ukraine. Epstein was a bit of a freelancer, and he had all this blackmail. He would work with different intelligence agencies all across the world. And so he also worked for Russian intelligence. So they may have blackmail material as well, right? CIA. I mean, you go down the list here. It is a devastating. The president is blackmailed. The president is exposed. The president is not in a place to actually represent the American people. He's not in a place to be a leader. He's not in a place to do his job properly. It would be so easy to extort him over this shit. And here we are. So absolutely disturbing and disgusting stuff. And man, I wish I could use that little Men in Black thingy that erases your memory after hearing this thing about pert nipples. What the fuck? But it is a clusterfuck to say the least. And I don't know if Pam Bondi survives this, right? And I don't know if the FBI survives it. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. I don't know. There might be massive changes or impeachment or contempt hearings or something because they are flagrantly violating the law, and it's not even close. It's not even close. The public is outraged, and that's very, very apparent.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.